Good morning, everybody. It's day 20 something, but the cold is back, the wind is back. It is Thursday, and so the plan today is to make it to the last shelter in the Smokies. So we'll make it out of here, and it's going to kind of be nice to have a little more freedom and flexibility. It's been a great trip and great adventure in here, but today we're just moving down, a lot of downhill today. It's really foggy and cloudy, so I don't know if there'll be a lot to share, but if there is something, I'll certainly share with you. And but it was cool catching up with all these guys yesterday, and so we got a hostel in a couple days and just trucking on. Wanted to take just a second to share some of the things I learned. There was a guy last night, and I'll try to throw the picture of him. He just looks like, if you want to think of a stereotypical, older gentleman that's a hiker, this is that guy. His trail name is Chase. He lives up in Virginia. He says he's logged over 25,000 miles in his life. Now, he says, but when you figure I've been hiking 50 years, that's not a whole lot. But, that just means he spent his whole life hiking. But, I picked his brain and got the opportunity to ask him, and he said a couple cool things. He had met like Earl Schaefer, who was the first person to hike the trail, and he had stories about what Mr. Schaefer talked about, Grandma Gatewood and all that kind of stuff, and that was really neat. But I said, so what would you tell somebody that was just getting into backpacking? And he said, well, first, it's just walking. And then he said, talk to as many people as you can. But this is what I thought was important. He said, but take what each of them say with a grain of salt. You have to figure out what works for you. And I thought, that'll preach right there. There's so many applications that you can learn out here that's can apply to life. So many times we get caught up and we want to do what somebody else is doing, and we think that because they're doing it, that's what we should do. But the reality is we should take that, learn from it, but then figure out who we are and what works best for us. So anyway, I thought that was really super cool, and I enjoyed talking with him. And then just from a technical standpoint of his backpacking, he was the most efficient person I've ever seen. Coming into camp, breaking down, packing up and leaving in the morning. I mean, it was just like effortless. And so anyway, just really cool. I thought I wanted to share that with you. Coming up on the trail, forgive the wind, but you can tell this was man-made, that was not natural. And sure enough, I looked on my app and saw that this is an old helicopter pad. So helicopters could land and take off from here. Pretty neat. So who knew SpongeBob was out on the trail? If she had a yellow poncho, that would be awesome. Okay, I got really good. So just hiking along, and came up to another ridge runner. I told you about the ridge runner we faced in the south part of the park. Well, now we're in the north part of the park, so it was another young lady, sweet girl, and she was asking for the permit. And well, dummy me, when I came back in from Gatlinburg, I accidentally threw away my piece of paper. And, so I thought, well, at least I have an email saying where I got it, so surely they'll understand. So when she asked me that question about my permit, I started explaining to her that, well, I didn't put it back in when I went into Gatlinburg, and I have the email I can show you. And she just is deadpan. I mean, she pulled it off. She said, well, I'm sorry, since you don't have your permit, you're going to have to exit the park immediately. And she let it sit for a second, and I was like, oh my gosh. But come to find out, the guys up in front of me had told them, because I shared with them what the deal was. And so she just played right along. So she was very gracious. I did look up the email and had to give her the permit number and all that. And so she'll make a documentation of it that I'm exiting the park tomorrow. But I panicked for a second. Of course, I don't know. Trust me, I'm trying to get out of the park as fast as I can. So I don't know what that would have looked differently. But anyway, that was pretty good. I certainly hope I'm giving good information, because I would feel bad. So please correct me if I'm not. But if I'm not mistaken, this plant right here kind of is low to the ground and kind of viney. I don't know what the scientific name is for it, but I think it's called dog hobble. And it got its name because when they would run dogs to chase the bears, well, the bears could just lumber right over that stuff, but it would hobble the dogs, and it would hold them up. So hence the name dog hobble. I think that's correct. If I'm not, somebody please correct me. But I can remember that from years ago, reading that, and I always thought that was a cool story. So the end of a good day. Been a long 2 days. Actually hiked over 30 miles in the last 2 days, but made it to the shelter. This is the last shelter before we get out of the Smokies, out of the park. We've only got about 3 miles, and we'll actually be at an interstate and all that kind of stuff in about 3 miles. So I'll show you that tomorrow, but check out this shelter. It's a little bit different, and so just check this out. All right, so right now it's just 5 of us in here, but look, they got chain link. So I think it's to keep the bears out, but it's also to lock the hikers, crazy hikers up in there. Y'all good in there? Yeah. So anyway, hey, a special shout out to Miss Fowler's class. She sent me a message and said you guys are watching this, so that's awesome. And Miss Millwood's class sent me some questions. Hopefully you got those back. Those were awesome though. So if anybody has any questions about just about anything you might see or might be curious about, I will either answer it to the best of my ability or try to point you in the right direction where you can find the answers. But hope everybody's doing well. And just like that, we are finished with the Smokies. So we're exited on the northbound. That's Agony putting in his slip, which I left mine in Gatlinburg, but I did see the Ridge Runner yesterday, so we're good. So we're heading on down the trail to Standing Bear Farm Hostel and see what it's all about. But I tell you, it is absolutely gorgeous today. The weather's supposed to come in tomorrow morning, but it'd be hard to believe. We were talking about this morning that, you know, before there was weather and forecasts and whatnot, how this could really catch somebody off guard. So I do hope everybody's safe that's out there, and hopefully gets off the trail if they need be, or maybe it won't be as bad as we think it is. But hope everybody's doing well. I'm looking forward to a great day. Just got out of the park, and we're getting closer into civilization, but still got the blazes on these power poles, and I can hear the interstate. Getting down to this road crossing, you see the double blazes, and the one at the top is kind of clicked to the left. So that tells you that, you know, look out, there's a change coming in the trail and it's going to the left. And then over here, still going to the left. So see, we're hitting this road down here, and then it's almost like kind of like a scavenger hunt. We got to find the next blaze. So here's our clue. See on that tree, it's got the white blaze and an arrow. Now that's not a traditional directional symbol, but so we're going right this way, right toward the interstate. Okay, we're going over the Pigeon River here, and you can see the white blazes on the bridge. It's kind of cool because if you didn't know it, you wouldn't even know you're on the Appalachian Trail going across this bridge here. And then up above, you can see all those trucks and cars. So I'm gonna tell you a little story about the interstate, which to me is kind of cool. So before the 1950s, you know, we were in war, and World War II was the early 40s, 41 to 45. Came back from war. There was a big general. His name was Dwight Eisenhower. Okay, he was the main leader, especially over in Europe. And you may have heard something called D-Day. Well, he was like the leader of all that. But when he came back, he ran for president. Well, and he became president in the 50s. And he realized that our country didn't have the same means of transportation that they did over in Europe, not just for traveling around, but for moving military equipment and evacuating people if we needed to. So he started the interstate system. And interstate means it just goes, you know, in between the states. It's a national highway system. It's limited access. You know, those exits aren't just set up for Buc-ee's and Quickie Marts, but so they, if needed be, they could close it off. If you're ever traveling down towards Savannah, you may notice there's gates on the exits and entrances. So if they needed to evacuate everybody from the coastal areas, they could do that. But I always thought that was pretty neat. Usually there was a purpose behind things, and that was one of his big deals, was we needed a better means of transportation throughout the country. You know, right now, a lot of times we just think about it as that's the way we get around, and we stop off at an exit to use the bathroom and get gas, but there's a much bigger purpose behind that. So I always thought that was a neat story. But so that's how we ended up with all the interstates. And this is I-40, Interstate 40. Another little fact, if highways or interstates are even numbers, that means they go east to west. And if they're odd numbers, they go north to south. So, always been interesting to me. And there's Agony, just hiking up the interstate access. All right, see the blazes underneath the sign, and they're kind of angled to the left. And so I think we go this way. And yep, there's some blazes under the bridge there. So we know this is the way we're going. So we're moving under this bridge. And Agony was just talking about he's traveled this interstate so many times when he lived in Knoxville and never thought about the trail went right underneath. You never know, got to keep your eyes open. All right, and there's our mark to get back on the woods, and we'll head up those stairs. So made it to the hostel here. It's called Standing Bear Hostel. Really kind of unique. I'll show you around. Kind of has a commune feel. I don't mean that negative or positive, but let me just show you around a little bit. All right, so first off, check this out. Got some blooms. You can tell spring is coming. What's so crazy is it's such a beautiful day today, and it's supposed to be cold and snowy tomorrow. So, but let me show you around. So there's a building here. It's got the stove and whatnot in here, so you can get some frozen pizza. People hanging out. Got Wi-Fi in here. Now this is what I thought was really interesting too. Check this out. You can wash your clothes, and this is the pre-washing machine. So this is actually a washboard. So you take your clothes, you wash it on the washboard, and then you put it in here, which is called a centrifuge, which spins to get all the excess moisture before you put it in the dryer. So it's really just what your washing machine does at home, where it'll just spin after it's washed everything to get most of the water off, and then you put it in the dryer. or you can pay $7 and they will wash your clothes. I may fork up the $7, but other than that, that's about it. There's a little shower place. There's a bunkhouse. There's everything you need, but it is kind of unique. Everybody drying up. So, but this is Standing Bear Farm. So this is where I'm going to be staying tonight and all tomorrow. And this is Titanium.
Hi, I'm 78 and I'm the oldest woman to through hike.
All right.
AT.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You keep going, girl. So let me show you where I am staying. There is a bunkhouse here, but this is what they call the smokehouse. And this is awesome. So there's a creek and this field right here. And then here's the room. It's a tight little room. Agony's gonna sleep below. And then I've got a top bunk up here. So just a small little room, but got a little heater. And the creek goes right under your feet right here. Pretty awesome. So this will be home for the next 2 nights. And we'll see what the weather does tomorrow. So that's going to be it for this video. That was it's really kind of a meaningful time because the maps on the app goes from Springer Mountain to Standing Bear Farms. So I'll be starting a new map that'll go from Standing Bear Farm to Damascus, Virginia. So the next 240 miles or so. So hope everybody's doing well, and hope you enjoy it.